Well, the biggest challenge that is there for you is to write code without getting distracted. Now, this can be easier at work where you have some semblance of focus because you have deadlines to meet. But this is not the case when you think about practicing programming. Now, you might be in a scenario where on a Thursday evening, you might say that I need to practice some programming on the weekend, and you set up time for that to do that during the weekend. Now, when you're thinking about that, you might imagine yourself as smashing away the keyboard during the weekend. But what happens on the weekend? You do come open your laptop and start writing code, and you suddenly find that you're not actually smashing away the keyboard, you're actually thinking about the problem to solve. And the problem looks harder to solve now on a Saturday rather than when you're trying to look at on a Thursday evening. So what happens is that now you're flooded and you have your smartphones with you, your browser and your even smartwatches with you, and they start sending notifications, and then you get distracted and suddenly find that you have spent the time scrolling away somewhere, or you might be reading some article which might not be related to the problem that you're trying to solve. And then that goes on, and you lose your time for your practicing programming. Now, this is a problem that the mindfulness movement helps you solve the problem, but you really cannot rely on the fact that you would practice mindfulness for a period of time and then you start practicing programming. That would kind of defeat the purpose. So, is there a simpler way? Well, there is one technique that you can use, which is called the Pomodoro technique. Now, what this technique is you kind of you set a timer of 25 minutes and then start the timer and start working on the program. And now, as you're practicing programming, as you're practicing the work, you spend the time for 25 minutes, and once the 25 minutes gets over, you take a break of 5 minutes, and then after the break again you restart the 25-minute session. You do this particular routine for 4 25-minute sessions, and once those 4 25-minute sessions are done, you take a break of 15 to 30 minutes, and that would kind of end one whole big session for you. The reason this works is because you're setting up an intention here and then starting the work for 25 minutes, and you're set up you have stopped all your notifications for 25 minutes, and because it's only for 25 minutes you really can do that. You know that you're not going to miss out anything in the world in the if you don't look up for 25 minutes. And the other thing is you are still thinking about the problem during the 25 minutes, and there's a good chance that your mind can wander away. So in that scenario, just get that awareness as you do in like mindfulness, where you bring the thought back to your problem to solve, and again focus on solving the problem. And sometimes you may feel tickling in your seat trying to get out of it. So you can tell your mind in that scenario that this particular session is only for 25 minutes. Once that is done, you can go and have a break. So that what that does, it calms your mind and kind of brings the focus back to your problem. Now, what that this technique does is this technique makes ensures that you spend these blocks of 25 minutes time working on a particular problem. Now, as you do this more and more often, what happens is that your resilience or your ability to focus for a longer period of time increases. And what also it does is because you have been doing this practice for a period of time, you obviously improve in your programming. Before ending this, I have a caveat on this or a catch on this. This particular technique is mainly useful for people who are beginning programming. It is not for people who have been doing this programming for maybe 3 years, 5 years, because they already have that resilience or the ability to focus for a longer period of time because they have been doing this for some time now. So, but for them, there's a different approach that they can do it in terms of Pomodoro technique, which I will cover it in the next session.